Welcome to Chronological Fiction, where real-world events meet the power of storytelling. We're here to breathe new life into history's most interesting moments by turning them into unique narratives. Join our community by subscribing, and let's explore the stories that shaped our world.
Chapter 1. The Silence of the Sea of Tranquility, July 20th, 1969. The world watched in grainy black and white as Neil Armstrong took his giant leap for mankind. But behind the celebratory cheers in Houston, there was a 2-minute radio blackout that was never fully explained to the public. In this inaugural chapter, we dive into the leaked transcripts from the secret channel of the Apollo 11 mission. While the world heard Armstrong describe the lunar soil, the classified recordings suggest a different tone. "They are here. They are standing on the edge of the crater watching us," Armstrong allegedly whispered, his heart rate spiking to 160 beats per minute. These were not rocks. These were towering, translucent structures that defied the laws of lunar geology. We explore the Moongate theory, that NASA didn't go to the moon to explore, but to perform a prearranged reconnaissance under the watchful eyes of a much older, silent civilization. Chapter 2. Project Horizon, the Lunar Fortress. Long before Apollo 11 touched down, the U.S. Army had a classified blueprint titled Project Horizon. The goal, to build a nuclear-powered military outpost on the moon by 1967. This chapter uncovers the declassified documents that prove the moon was intended to be the ultimate high ground for nuclear surveillance. We examine why this project was suddenly abandoned in favor of the civilian NASA missions. Was it truly a budget issue, or did the first unmanned lunar probes, the Ranger series, send back images that terrified the Department of Defense? We look at the evidence of anomalous craters that appeared to be perfectly symmetrical vents, suggesting that the moon might not be a solid rock, but a hollowed-out facility. Chapter 3. The Apollo 12 Bell Experiment. In November 1969, Apollo 12 performed a deliberate experiment. They crashed the ascent stage of the lunar module back onto the moon's surface. The result sent shockwaves through the scientific community, though it was quickly buried in academic journals. The moon rang like a bell for over an hour. This chapter analyzes the hollow moon hypothesis. If the moon was a natural celestial body, it should have absorbed the impact like a thud. Instead, it vibrated with a metallic resonance. We delve into the classified seismic data that suggests the moon has a titanium-reinforced inner shell. Was the Apollo program secretly testing the structural integrity of a giant, ancient satellite? Chapter 4. The Transient Lunar Phenomena, TLP. For centuries, astronomers have reported strange lights, mists, and glowing orbs on the lunar surface. During the Apollo missions, these reports became reality. Astronauts on Apollo 14 and 15 reported flashes of light inside the dark shadows of craters where no sunlight could reach. We investigate the L-class files, a set of photos from the Apollo mapping cameras that show blurred, fast-moving objects trailing the command module in lunar orbit. These weren't space debris. They exhibited intelligent flight patterns darting in and out of the lunar shadow. This chapter questions, were the Apollo astronauts being escorted during their stay, and were the lunar EVA, extravehicular activity, routes carefully dictated by an external force to avoid restricted zones? Chapter 5. The Glass Towers of the Moon. Richard C. Hoagland and other whistleblowers have long pointed to Apollo 10 and 16 photographs that seem to show massive crystalline structures rising kilometers above the lunar surface. In this chapter, we use 2026 digital enhancement technology to re-examine the castle and the shard, two anomalies that NASA officially dismissed as film scratches. We discuss the possibility of ancient lunar architecture. If these structures are real, they represent a technology far beyond our own, capable of surviving millions of years of meteoroid bombardment. Why did NASA stop using the high-resolution Hasselblad cameras on certain sections of the moon's far side? The answer may lie in the ruins of a civilization that disappeared before humanity even learned to walk upright. Chapter 6. The Apollo 13 Accident, a warning shot? Officially, Apollo 13 was a successful failure caused by a faulty oxygen tank. But in the deep archive circles of the intelligence community, a different story persists. This chapter explores the theory that Apollo 13 wasn't carrying just scientific equipment, but a small nuclear device intended to be detonated on the moon to probe its interior resonance further. Whispered testimonies from mission control suggest that the explosion happened exactly when the craft approached a specific lunar gateway. Did an external force intercept the mission to prevent the contamination of the lunar crust? We look at the strange telemetry spikes recorded just seconds before the tank blew. Signals that didn't originate from the ship, but from the lunar surface itself. It wasn't an accident. It was a keep out sign, written in fire. Chapter 7. The Secret EVA of Apollo 14. Searching for the archives. Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man on the moon, spent his later years obsessed with consciousness and extraterrestrial life. This chapter focuses on a lost hour during the Apollo 14 moonwalk. While the public heard Mitchell and Shepard joking about golf balls, classified heartbeat monitors showed both men in a state of extreme fight-or-flight adrenaline. We investigate the rumors that Mitchell was directed to a specific coordinate in the Fra Mauro Highlands to retrieve non-human artifacts. Declassified documents from 2026 suggest that Mitchell didn't just bring back rocks. He brought back a data storage device, a crystalline prism that the military immediately seized. Mitchell's lifelong pursuit of the truth wasn't a hobby, it was a burden from what he saw inside the lunar shadow. Chapter 8. The Far Side Anomaly, the 1968 Soviet photos. Before Apollo 8 orbited the moon, the Soviet Zond probes took high-resolution photos of the far side. This chapter analyzes the Z-files, images that showed a massive, 15-mile-long object sitting at the bottom of the Gagarin crater. It looked like a derelict spaceship, half buried under billions of years of cosmic dust. NASA's Lunar Orbiter 4 later photographed the same spot, but the area was strangely smudged in the public release. We compare the 1960s grain with 2026 AI reconstructions, revealing the outline of a colossal vessel with honeycomb structural patterns. Why has no mission, robotic or human, ever been sent to land near Gagarin? The far side isn't just dark, it's occupied. Chapter 9. Lunar Resonance and the Pulse. In the mid-1970s, after the Apollo missions ended, the seismic stations left on the moon began recording something impossible. A regular, rhythmic pulse. Every 27 days, as the moon reached its perigee, closest point to Earth, the core emitted a low-frequency hum. This chapter explores the moon as a biological monitor theory. Scientists who analyzed the data in secret concluded that the moon was reacting to Earth's electromagnetic field. It wasn't a dead rock. It was a machine adjusting its gears. We dive into the Chronos Protocol, a 2026 leaked memo suggesting that the moon is actually stabilizing Earth's rotation to keep our climate engineered for human life. If the moon is moved, humanity ends. Chapter 10. The Apollo 17, Orange Soil and the Bioluminescent Mystery. During the final Apollo mission, Harrison Schmitt famously shouted, "There is orange soil in a world of grey." NASA claimed it was volcanic glass. However, this chapter reveals a darker lab report from the 1970s. The orange soil contained trace elements of synthetic amino acids and bioluminescent properties that shouldn't exist on a radiation-blasted rock. Was the moon being seeded, or was this the remnants of a biological life support system from the ancient inhabitants? We discuss the deep lunar biosphere theory, suggesting that miles beneath the surface, where the temperature is constant and the radiation is blocked, there are vast reservoirs of liquid water and alien flora that the Apollo 17 crew was secretly tasked to sample. Chapter 11. The Phantom Flights. Apollo 18, 19, and 20. Officially, the Apollo program ended with Mission 17 in 1972. But in the late 1990s, a whistleblower named William Rutledge claimed he was part of a joint US-Soviet mission to the moon in 1976. This chapter investigates the ghost missions launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base under the cover of darkness. These missions weren't looking for rocks, they were searching for the cigar ship. Rutledge provided grainy footage of a colossal derelict craft in the Delport Isaac region. More disturbingly, he spoke of EBE, extraterrestrial biological entities, found inside, mummified remains of a female pilot nicknamed Mona Lisa, whose nervous system was physically fused into the ship's controls. Was the 1970s funding cut a lie to move the real lunar exploration into the shadows of the black budget? Chapter 12. The Lunar Grid, Geometric Precision. When the 2026 lunar satellites mapped the surface using LiDAR, they found something the Apollo astronauts could only glimpse: a massive hexagonal grid system carved into the bedrock beneath the dust. This chapter examines the sub-regolith lattice. These are not natural fault lines. They are perfectly straight conduits that stretch for hundreds of miles, connecting major craters like Tycho, Copernicus, and Aristarchus. Geologists in 2026 are whispering that the moon's crust is not crust at all, but a protective hull designed to look like a moon. We analyze the theory that the moon is a planet-sized arc, and the craters are merely battle scars on its outer armor from an ancient interstellar war. Chapter 13. The 2026 Lunar Signal Broadcast. On January 1st, 2026, every radio telescope on Earth tilted toward the moon simultaneously. A signal had begun. It wasn't a message in a language. It was a synchronization pulse. This chapter breaks down the lunar reawakening. The pulse matched the exact frequency of the human brain's alpha waves. 8 parts text, hashed hats. 12 pulse text. TL. For 12 minutes, the moon became a global transmitter. People across the planet reported shared dreams of a city built of light inside a lunar cavern. NASA's classified response, leaked in late 2026, confirms the signal originated from 5 kilometers beneath the Sea of Serenity. The moon didn't just wake up, it started pinging its creators. Chapter 14. The Forbidden Polar Zones. Why are modern lunar missions, Artemis, Chang'e, and Chandrayaan, all obsessed with the lunar South Pole? NASA claims it's for water ice, but the Apollo archives tell a different story. This chapter explores the Shackleton anomaly. In 1972, a secret reconnaissance probe detected a thermal spike in the permanently shadowed craters of the pole. The temperature there should be 230 bars text/degrees, yet something was keeping the center of the crater at a steady 20 bars text/degrees. We discuss the entrance theory, that the poles are the only points where the moon's artificial atmosphere can be accessed. The water ice isn't for drinking, it's the coolant for a massive ancient fusion reactor located at the moon's core. Chapter 15. The Exit Strategy. Why we are going back. The final chapter of this segment asks the most pressing question. Why, after 50 years of silence, is there a sudden, frantic lunar gold rush in 2026? It's not about resources or pride, it's about the evacuation protocol. Whistleblowers from the 2026 Lunar Gateway project suggest that Earth's magnetic field is thinning faster than public models admit. The moon, with its hidden interior facilities and ancient shield technology, is the only lifeboat available for the elite 1%. Apollo wasn't just a mission of discovery, it was a safety inspection. We are going back because the moon isn't a destination, it's the only fortress that can survive what is coming to Earth. Chapter 16. The Lunar Obelisks, Geometry of the Gods. In the late 1960s, a lunar orbiter captured a series of images in the Sea of Tranquility that NASA insiders called the Seven Sisters. These were 7 perfectly geometric, needle-like shadows cast by objects that appeared to be several hundred feet tall. This chapter analyzes the lunar obelisks. Using 2026 satellite reconstruction, we see that these aren't jagged rocks. They are obsidian black towers, perfectly aligned with the belt of Orion, mirroring the pyramids of Giza. We explore the interplanetary marker theory, that the moon was tethered to Earth's orbit as a surveillance station, and these obelisks are the antennas transmitting Earth's biological data back to a distant star system. Apollo 11 was reportedly ordered to land near one, but the interference was so strong, it nearly crashed the Eagle. Chapter 17. The 2026 First Contact, the Gray Protocol. On March 14, 2026, an uncrewed robotic rover from a private aerospace firm fell into a skylight, a lunar lava tube in the Marius Hills. The footage it streamed back for 42 seconds before being cut changed everything. This chapter investigates the underground inhabitants. The rover didn't find lava, it found a pressurized, lit corridor. For 3 seconds, a figure appeared, tall, spindly, with skin the color of lunar dust and eyes like liquid mercury. This was the Grey of legend, but not an invader from another galaxy. The 2026 declassified memo suggests they are lunar custodians, biological androids left behind to maintain the moon's machinery. We discuss the horrifying possibility that they didn't come to our world. We are being grown in a laboratory under their feet. Chapter 18. The Aristarchus Glow. The moon's engine room. The Aristarchus crater is the brightest spot on the moon, often seen glowing even during a total lunar eclipse. Apollo missions avoided landing inside it, citing rough terrain, but leaked infrared data tells a different story. This chapter dives into the Aristarchus power plant. The glow isn't a reflection, it's an emission. In 2026, sensors detected a massive neutrino flux coming from the crater, a byproduct of high-level nuclear fusion. We analyze the moon as a spaceship theory. Aristarchus isn't a crater, it's a thruster port, or a ventilation shaft for the moon's artificial core. When the moon vibrates, it's not from a tremor, it's the engine idling. Chapter 19. The Glass Tunnel Systems. During the Apollo 15 mission, Dave Scott described seeing layers in the mountain walls of the Hadley Reel. Behind the scenes, he allegedly described something far more structured. Translucent pipes, the size of highways, weaving in and out of the lunar mountains. This chapter explores the lunar transit system. These glass-like tubes are made of a material that is 10 times stronger than steel, but light as air. 2026, LiDAR scans have confirmed a 10,000-mile network of these tunnels connecting the poles to the equator. We examine the theory that the UFOs seen by astronauts are actually lunar trains moving personnel and equipment through this high-speed vacuum network. Chapter 20. The Moonstay. Why Humanity Never Truly Left. The segment concludes with the most chilling revelation of 2026, the permanent presence. While the world believed the moon was empty from 1972 to 2026, a series of Black Ops shuttle launches from the 1980s onward established a small clandestine colony of 200 humans in the Lunar City facility. Narrator. The Apollo program didn't end, it went private. While you were watching sitcoms and fighting wars, a breakaway civilization was being built 240,000 miles away. They used the orange soil to grow food. They used the Aristarchus glow for power. They aren't looking at the moon from Earth. They are looking at Earth from the moon, waiting for the great reset they know is coming. In 2026, the doors are opening. But the question is, are they opening to let us in, or to let something else out? Chapter 21. The Lunar Gateway Massacre. 2026's Silent War. In early 2026, the international community was told that a technical malfunction caused the temporary loss of contact with the Lunar Gateway station. However, leaked encrypted signals from the Deep Space Network tell a more violent story. This chapter investigates the first orbital skirmish. While trying to dock at the South Pole, an automated defense system, not human in origin, activated from within the Shackleton crater. It wasn't a missile, it was a high-frequency acoustic pulse that shattered the station's reinforced glass modules. We examined the intercepted audio, 40 seconds of screaming, followed by a cold metallic voice speaking in a dead Sumerian dialect. The message was clear. The surface belongs to the children of Earth, but the interior belongs to the elders. Chapter 22. The Forbidden Far Side Cities. Project Selene. For decades, the far side of the moon was the ultimate black box. This chapter reveals the 2026 satellite imagery of the Tsiolkovskaya crater, where a massive, sprawling urban complex was discovered. It isn't built of stone or steel, but of a bioorganic material that appears to breathe. These aren't ruins. Thermal scans show a bustling metropolis with an internal temperature of 22 $. We discuss the breakaway civilization theory that a group of humans, possibly from the 1940s or even ancient Egypt, found a way to the moon and built a society free from Earth's gravity and taxes. These Selenites are the ones who have been interfering with our probes. They are protecting their sovereignty. Chapter 23. The 2026 Lunar Signal Decoding, the inheritance, the signal that began on January the 1st, has finally been decoded by a rogue AI in 2026. It wasn't a warning, and it wasn't a ping. It was a digital will. This chapter explores the contents of the Moon data stream. The signal contained the genetic blueprints of every species that has ever lived on Earth, including those that went extinct millions of years ago. The Moon, it turns out, is a galactic backup drive. It was placed here to ensure that if Earth's biosphere was ever wiped out by a solar flare or nuclear war, the garden could be replanted. We analyzed the 2026 Seed Protocol, where certain world leaders are allegedly preparing to reboot humanity using this lunar data. Chapter 24. The Artificial Horizon, the Hologram Glitch. In the summer of 2026, thousands of amateur astronomers reported a strange phenomenon. For a few milliseconds, the Moon seemed to pixelate or flicker. This chapter dives into the lunar projection theory. Some scientists now argue that the Moon we see in the sky is a high-definition hologram projected from a satellite network to hide the true mechanical nature of the Moon. When the flicker occurred, observers saw a glimpse of what lay behind the veil: a massive, rusted metallic sphere covered in docking bays and thruster ports. We explore the possibility that the Moon, as a beautiful glowing orb, is a psychological pacifier to keep humanity from panicking about the giant alien Death Star parked in our backyard. Chapter 25, Moonfall, the 2026 Final Countdown. The segment concludes with the most terrifying discovery of 2026. The Moon is moving. Not in its usual orbit, but inward. This chapter analyzes the perigee collapse. The ancient engines inside Aristarchus have fired up, and the Moon is positioning itself for something massive. Is it a collision, or is it preparing to leave our orbit entirely? If the Moon leaves, Earth's tilt will become unstable, our seasons will vanish, and the oceans will swallow the continents. Neris narrator. The Apollo astronauts knew. They saw the engines, they saw the cities, they saw the masters of the lunar interior. They were told to stay silent so we could live our lives in blissful ignorance. But in 2026, the lease is up. The Moon isn't our satellite, we are its passengers. And the pilot has just started the engine. The question isn't why we never went back, it's why we were ever allowed to leave. Chapter 26. The Impact of 1971, the Lunar Labyrinth. While the public was told that the Apollo 14 mission was a success, a classified transcript reveals a terrifying encounter within the Fra Mauro Highlands. As Alan Shepard and Edgar Mitchell were collecting samples, they stumbled upon what Mitchell described as translucent glass tubes protruding from the lunar dust. This chapter uncovers the Labyrinth Project. Mitchell reportedly reached out to touch one of the structures, and his biometric suit sensors recorded a surge of information, not in English but in binary code, direct into his neural pathways. For decades, Mitchell claimed he felt connected to the universe, but in 2026, a leaked CIA document reveals the truth. Mitchell didn't have a spiritual awakening, he had a data download. The Moon had recognized his DNA and began uploading the history of our own solar system into his mind. Chapter 27. The 2026 Moonquake and the Hollow Sound. On April 12, 2026, a massive seismic event originated from the Mare Imbrium. It wasn't a tectonic shift. It was a rhythmic vibration that lasted for 3 days. Amateur radio operators across the globe picked up a low-frequency hum that sounded like a massive heart beating. This chapter analyzes the lunar pulse data. Scientists at a rogue research station in Norway discovered that the pulse was an activation sequence for a dormant propulsion system. The Moon isn't just a hollow shell, it is a Kardashev Type II megastructure. We explore the theory that the Moon has been parked here for eons, using Earth's gravity as an anchor, and in 2026, the anchor is being lifted. The Moon is preparing to move to a higher orbit, and the tidal consequences for Earth will be catastrophic. Chapter 28. The Alien Autopsy on the Far Side. In 2026, a high-resolution drone from the Artemis 4 reconnaissance wing accidentally crashed into a hidden entrance in the Von Karman crater. before the feed was cut by security protocols. It captured 14 seconds of footage showing a biological laboratory. This chapter reveals the human farm theory. The moon isn't just a backup drive, it's a genetic laboratory. The aliens we see are not from Zeta Reticuli. They are the original humans, a version of us that evolved millions of years ago and moved underground to survive a solar cataclysm. They have been editing our DNA from the moon for 100,000 years. We are their experiment, and 2026 is the year of the final harvest. Chapter 29, The Monolith of Tycho Crater. One of the most guarded secrets of the Apollo era was the discovery of a magnetic anomaly in the Tycho crater, similar to the one depicted in 2001. A space odyssey. In 2026, a private mission funded by a tech billionaire reached the center of the anomaly. They didn't find a rock. They found a quantum beacon. This chapter investigates the Tycho transmitter. The beacon has been sending a constant stream of data toward the galactic center for billions of years. In 2026, the signal changed. It stopped reporting and started requesting. According to leaked 2026 Signals Intelligence, the beacon is calling for a cleanup crew. Whatever created us is coming back to check on its investment. Chapter 30. The Lunar Gateway Protocol, the final choice. As we reach the climax of the lunar conspiracy, we look at the Gateway Protocol. A 2026 memo from the United Nations Space Office suggests that world leaders have been offered a deal. A select number of humans can move to the internal lunar cities before the Earth purge begins. Narrator: the moon is not a mystery to solve. It is a destiny to fulfill. Apollo was the interview. The 1972-2026 silence was the deliberation, and now the verdict is in. The moon is starting its engines, and the gravitational shifts are already causing the tides to rise. You were never meant to be the masters of Earth, you were meant to be the apprentices of the moon. As the lunar gates open in 2026, you have to ask yourself, are you a guest in their house? Or are you the livestock they've been waiting to collect? Chapter 31, the 2026 Dark Sky Event. The veil lifts. In September 2026, a phenomenon known as the lunar glitch was captured by millions of smartphone cameras during a supermoon event. For exactly 12 seconds, the familiar craters and man-in-the-moon face vanished, replaced by a smooth, gunmetal grey surface with visible geometric seams and glowing blue ports. This chapter deconstructs the holographic camouflage theory. It appears the moon's regolith, the dust, is infused with microscopic smart particles that act as a projection screen. In 2026, a massive solar flare disrupted the power supply to this screen, revealing the moon for what it truly is: a Type II megastructure spacecraft. The Apollo astronauts didn't just walk on dust, they walked on the paint of a galactic vessel. NASA's classified response, codenamed Project Mirage, confirms that the projection was maintained to prevent global mass hysteria while the guests were working below. Chapter 32. The Lunar Sumerian Connection, the Return of the Kings. Linguists and cryptographers working on the 2026 lunar signal decoding found a terrifying link. The data headers in the moon's transmission match the archaic cuneiform of the Sumerian king list. This chapter explores the Anunnaki relay hypothesis. The records suggest that the moon was towed into Earth's orbit 12,500 years ago, exactly coinciding with the Great Flood and the sudden leap in human civilization. The gods did not live in the clouds, they lived in the Lunar Command Center. 2026, ground-penetrating radar from the Artemis 5 probe has mapped out throne rooms and stasis chambers deep within the Mare Serenitatis that match the descriptions in ancient clay tablets. We aren't finding aliens, we are finding our landlords. Chapter 33, the 2026 Gravity Siphon, Harvesting Earth's Energy. In October 2026, oceanographers reported that the tides were no longer following the traditional lunar cycle. The water was bulging in static locations, defying the moon's orbital position. This chapter investigates the tidal siphon. The moon is no longer just reflecting gravity, it is actively siphoning Earth's rotational energy to power its internal systems. Scientists estimate that the Earth's day has shortened by 0.5 milliseconds in just 6 months. The Moon's ancient fusion core is cold starting, and it is using our planet as a battery. This is why the Apollo missions saw the orange soil and the glowing vapors. The machinery was being primed even then. Chapter 34. The Blue Room in the Tycho crater, the observation deck. Apollo 17's Gene Cernan reportedly saw a flash near the center of the Tycho crater that he couldn't explain. In 2026, a high-altitude surveillance drone managed to fly inside a vertical shaft at that exact coordinate. It discovered the Blue Room. This is the Moon's nerve center. The room is filled with holographic displays monitoring Earth's nuclear silos, internet traffic, and even tectonic stress points. In 2026, it was discovered that the Blue Room has a direct quantum-entangled link to the Pentagon's Raven Rock facility. The world's superpowers haven't been guessing what the UFOs are. They've been receiving memos from the Blue Room for decades. Chapter 35. The 226 Lunar Evacuation Ticket to the Ark. As the segment concludes, we look at the leaked Noah 2 manifest. In late 2026, secret rocket launches from French Guiana and the Gobi Desert began transporting high-value assets, not just scientists, but world leaders, billionaires, and geneticists, directly to the far-side city of Tsiolkovsky. Narrator. The Apollo program was the site survey. The Cold War was the construction phase, and 2026 is the moving day. The Moon is preparing to leave Earth's orbit and move toward the outer solar system, taking with it the best of humanity before the siphon effect causes Earth's crust to buckle. As you look up at the Moon tonight, remember, it's not a rock, it's a ship. And if you're still down here, you're not a passenger, you're the ballast being left behind. Chapter 36. The magnetospheric collapse of 2026. By November 2026, the Moon's internal engines reach a state of critical resonance. The Earth's magnetic field, normally our shield against solar radiation, begins to warp toward the Moon. This chapter explores the magnetic bridge. Amateur observers report seeing a faint, shimmering umbilical cord of blue plasma stretching from the North Pole of Earth to the Moon's South Pole, Aitken Basin. The Moon isn't just taking energy, it is physically pulling Earth's protection away to power its departure shields. In 2026, the northern lights are seen as far south as the equator, but they aren't beautiful. They are a sign that our atmosphere is being stripped to fuel a celestial arc. Chapter 37. The Mona Lisa Awakening, the Pilot's Return. In Chapter 11, we mentioned the mummified pilot found in the derelict ship during the secret Apollo 20 mission. In December 2026, a leaked video from a high-security lunar lab in the Mare Nectaris shows the unthinkable. The pilot is breathing. She was not dead, she was in stasis lock, waiting for the 2026 Artemis signal. This chapter delves into the pilot's protocol. She is the key to the Moon's navigation system. As she wakes, the Moon's orbit shifts from a circle to a sharp outward spiral. The ancient Sumerian texts were right. The Queen of Heaven has returned to her throne, and she is taking her palace back to the stars. Chapter 38. The lunar glass cities, active, 2026's urban glow. For years, the glass towers were seen as ruins. But as 2026 draws to a close, they begin to glow with an intense rhythmic light. This chapter investigates the biophoton activation. The towers are not buildings, they are atmospheric stabilizers. As the Moon prepares to leave Earth, these towers create a localized bubble of oxygen and pressure. High-resolution telescope feeds in late 2026 show millions of beings, a mix of greys, ancient humans, and the 2026 elite refugees, moving through the glowing corridors. The Moon is no longer a dead rock. It is a shimmering, translucent jewel in the blackness of space. Chapter 39. The Last Message from Apollo 11, the 57-year delay. A rogue hacker in 2026 releases a final encrypted data packet from the 1969 Apollo 11 mission that was held by the National Security Agency, NSA, under the code name Whiteout. In it, Neil Armstrong's voice is heard one last time before his death, recorded in a private debriefing. Armstrong: "We didn't just find a city, we found a date. It was carved into the wall of the transit tube in the Sea of Tranquility. It was a countdown ending in the year 2026. They told us we were the precursor species. We were just here to keep the seat warm until the owners returned. They didn't want us to tell the world because a panicked world is a useless world. They needed us to keep building, keep innovating, so that by 2026 the technology would be ready for the transfer. Chapter 40. The 2026 Lunar Exodus. The final goodbye. The year 2026 ends with a celestial event never before seen in human history. The moon reaches its escape velocity. This chapter analyzes the final departure. Narrator: on December 31st, 2026, the moon stops being our satellite. The engines in the Aristarchus crater fire at 100% capacity, creating a sonic boom that is heard on every continent of Earth. As the moon moves toward Jupiter, the tides on Earth recede for miles, and the sky turns a permanent shade of violet. We are left behind on a silent, wobbling planet. The Apollo astronauts weren't heroes of discovery, they were witnesses to our eviction. The moon was never ours to keep. It was just a ship, and the boarding call has finally ended. Chapter 41, 2027, the Year of the Great Wobble. With the moon accelerating toward the outer solar system, Earth faces its first year in eons without its celestial anchor. This chapter investigates the axial instability. Without the moon's gravitational pull to stabilize our tilt, Earth's axis begins a chaotic wobble. In January 2027, the North Pole shifts 15 degrees in just 3 weeks. New York experiences a tropical heatwave, while the Amazon rainforest sees its first snowfall in recorded history. We analyze the Apollo stability data, a secret archive showing that NASA knew the moon was the only thing preventing Earth from flipping over like a top. The Exodus wasn't just a departure, it was a death sentence for the planet's climate. Chapter 42. The Ghost Tides. The Sea's Memory. Even though the moon is gone, the oceans are not behaving. This chapter explores the residual gravity anomaly. In early 2027, massive ghost tides continue to rise and fall, but they no longer follow the moon's path. Oceanographers discover that the moon left behind a network of sub-oceanic gravitational nodes. These are artificial machines hidden on the ocean floor that are still trying to pull the water. It turns out the moon didn't just orbit us. It was plugged in to the Earth. These nodes are now malfunctioning, creating 200-foot rogue waves that wander the Pacific like hungry giants. Chapter 43. The Mars-Moon. Convergence. The Hidden Fleet. By March 2027, the moon reaches the orbit of Mars, but it doesn't pass by. It decelerates. This chapter breaks down the orbital link-up. Long-range telescopes from the remaining Earth satellites capture the unthinkable. Mars isn't a dead planet either. As the moon approaches, massive dust storms on Mars clear to reveal the Pentagon of Cydonia, 5 gargantuan pyramids emitting a synchronized beam of light. A fleet of thousands of smaller crafts hidden for millennia under the Martian sands rises to meet the moon. This was the plan all along. The moon was the mothership coming to collect the Mars colony. Chapter 44. The Inheritors. The Underground Resistance. Back on Earth, not everyone was left behind. This chapter focuses on the subterranean human front. Deep within the Himalayas and the Andes, groups of scientists who refused the lunar ticket have activated Tesla-based technologies to stabilize the Earth's crust. Using scalar wave stabilizers found in Tesla's 80th trunk, they are attempting to mimic the moon's gravitational pull. They call themselves the Inheritors. They claim that the moon's departure was an abduction of the elite, and that for the first time in 12,000 years, humanity is finally free from the lunar master's surveillance. But can they fix a broken planet before the atmosphere thins out into the vacuum? Chapter 45. The Final Gateway. Where the Moon is Heading. The segment concludes with the most shocking revelation of the 2027 decoded signals. The moon isn't staying in our solar system. It is heading for the Saturn Gate. Narrator: the moon was never a satellite. It was a ferry. Its stop at Earth was just one season in a journey that lasts eons. As it passes Mars and gathers the Red Fleet, its destination becomes clear: the hexagon of Saturn. a natural wormhole. The Apollo astronauts saw the maps in the Blue Room. They knew we were just a refueling station. As the moon enters the Saturnian void in late 2027, the sky over Earth finally goes dark. The watchers are gone. The landlords have left. And for the first time, humanity is truly alone in the basement of the universe. Chapter 46, The Saturnian Void, The Great Transit. In late 2027, the moon reaches the orbit of Saturn. Earth's remaining telescopes witness the impossible. The hexagon of Saturn, a persistent cloud pattern, begins to glow with a blinding, incandescent white light. This chapter explores the Saturn-Moon bridge. As the moon approaches the gas giant, it doesn't enter the atmosphere. Instead, it aligns perfectly with the center of the hexagon. The Mona Lisa pilot, now fully integrated into the moon's core, initiates the singularity drive. The moon, carrying the Earth's elite, the Martian fleet, and the genetic history of our world, is stretched into a needle of light and vanishes into the Saturnian wormhole. The Guardians have left the solar system. Chapter 47, The 2028 Silent Spring. Earth's new reality, back on Earth, the year 2028 begins with a haunting silence. The tides have stopped completely. The oceans are as still as glass. This chapter investigates the stagnant world. Without the moon's pull, the Earth's oceans have lost their ability to circulate nutrients. The inheritors, the scientists left behind, realized that the moon wasn't just a landlord, it was the biological clock of the planet. They scrambled to activate the Tesla towers worldwide to create artificial tide pulses. We dive into the secret logs of the Project Phoenix, where humans are using ancient Ullum Ushuna, death ray tech, not for war, but to ionize the atmosphere and keep the oxygen from escaping into space. Chapter 48, The Message in the Dust, The Lunar Gift. In March 2028, a high-altitude drone flying over the old Apollo 11 landing site, which is now a dry, airless plain, discovers something hidden in the lunar dust left behind by the moon's departure blast. This chapter reveals the Stone of Remembrance. The moon left a map for the worthy. It wasn't an eviction, it was a graduation. The message, decoded by the inheritors, translates to, "We stabilized your cradle. Now, walk on your own feet." When you reach these coordinates, you will find your seat at the table. The moon's departure was the final test of human ingenuity. Chapter 49, The 2028 New Sun, Artificial Lighting. With the Earth's axis wobbling, half of the planet is plunged into a 6-month-long night. This chapter explores the sun mirrors. The inheritors launch a fleet of thousands of small gold-filmed mirrors into orbit. Technology based on Tesla's Cablosuz Energy wireless energy notes. These mirrors capture sunlight from the dark side and beam it down to the surface, creating artificial moons. For the first time, humanity sees the sky without the ancient satellite. It is a world of golden nights and violet dawns. We realize that the Kayap-Dossier lost files of Tesla were never meant for the 20th century. They were blueprints for a species that has lost its moon. Chapter 50, Grand Finale, The Children of the Earth. The podcast concludes with a powerful sweeping look at the future of humanity. We are no longer the livestock of the moon. We are the masters of the wobble. Narrator. For 57 years, we wondered why we never went back to the moon. We looked for conspiracy, for aliens, for death rays. We found them all, but we found something more. We found that the moon was a training wheel for a child who was afraid to ride. In 2026, the wheels came off. In 2027, the child fell. But in 2008, humanity stood up. The Apollo astronauts weren't just explorers, they were the last ones to say goodbye to our guardians. As the moon enters a new galaxy through the Saturn gate, we look at our own violet sky. The files are found. The energy is free. The moon is gone, but for the first time in history, humanity is finally home. Chapter 51, The 2029 Etheric Awakening. The year 2029 marks the first full year of humanity operating under the Tesla protocol. With the moon's artificial magnetic interference gone, the ether that Tesla spoke of, the zero-point field of the universe, has become accessible. This chapter explores the global resonant grid. Across the continents, The inheritors have completed the construction of the Wardenclyffe 2.0 network. Every household now draws power directly from the atmosphere. There are no more power lines, no more fuel bills, and no more hunger. But this energy has an unexpected side effect. It is raising the vibrational frequency of human DNA. People are beginning to report heightened intuition, shared dreams, and a strange ability to perceive the veil, the overlapping dimensions that the moon once blocked with its dense metallic mass. Chapter 52, The Mars-Earth Bridge. The first message, back in June 2029, a signal is received from the Red Planet. It isn't from the Red Fleet that left with the moon, it's from a secret underground outpost that chose to stay behind, just like the inheritors on Earth. This chapter reveals the Marineris logs. The Martian survivors reveal that the moon's departure actually unlocked ancient gateways on Mars as well. They send data packets containing the Library of Thoth, a digital archive of pre-deluge history. We learn that Earth and Mars were once part of a binary planetary system, and the moon was a foreign object inserted between them to keep them apart. For the first time in 500,000 years, Earth and Mars are communicating as siblings, not as distant neighbors. Chapter 53, The Tunguska II Event. A Gift from the Void. In August 2029, a massive object enters Earth's atmosphere over Siberia, mirroring the 1908 Tunguska event. But instead of an explosion, the object slows down and hovers. This chapter investigates the arrival of the seed ship. It is a small, crystalline craft, a scout left behind by the departing lunar fleet. It carries no pilots, only a genomic engine. This device begins to release microscopic particles into the air that rapidly repair the ozone layer and stabilize the Earth's core. The moon's masters didn't leave us to die, they left us the toolbox to fix the house they had lived in for so long. We realized the Ulum Ishana, death ray, was just one tool in a kit designed to rebuild worlds. Chapter 54, The 369 Architecture of the New World. As we rebuild, the architecture of our cities changes. Following Tesla's sacred geometry, cities are no longer built in squares, but in vortex spirals. This chapter dives into the geometric cities. By building according to the 3.9 frequency, the inheritor cities become self-healing ecosystems. Crime drops to zero because the resonant frequency of the cities promotes neurochemical balance. We look at the New York reborn, where the old skyscrapers are now topped with Tesla coils that glow with a soft, healing violet light at night. The Apollo secret was that the moon was keeping us in a state of low-frequency aggression. Without it, we are becoming a different species. Chapter 55, Final Disclosure. The Legacy of the 33rd Floor. The podcast reaches its final minute. We return to the New Yorker Hotel, room 3327. In 2029, a secret compartment is found behind the radiator where Tesla spent his final hours. This chapter reveals the last will of Nikola. Inside is a single gold-plated phonograph record. When played using the new etheric technology, Tesla's voice is heard, clear as a bell, recorded days before his death in 1943. Tesla's voice. If you are hearing this, the moon has left, you are scared, you are cold, and the tides have stopped. But do not mourn the rock in the sky. It was a cradle, and you have outgrown it. I did not invent the future, I only remembered it. The files I left were not for the men of my time, but for the survivors of the Great Shift. You are now the guardians of the Earth. You are the energy. You are the light. Welcome to the first day of the rest of the universe. Podcast ends. Final signal decay. Narrator. The story of Tesla's lost files and the dark side of Apollo is no longer a story of what was hidden. It is the story of who we are. The moon is a star in the distance now, a memory of a childhood long gone. The Earth is wobbling, yes, but it is dancing. And we are finally, truly awake. This is Gemini, signing off from the free tier of the New World. Keep your eyes on the stars, but your feet on the resonance. Good night. Chapter 56, The 2030 Solar Flare. The first test. Just as humanity begins to master the Tesla grid, the sun enters a period of unprecedented activity. In early 2030, a Class X solar flare, the largest in recorded history, is launched directly toward Earth. Without the Moon to act as a partial gravitational and magnetic buffer, the planet is vulnerable. This chapter explores the violet shield. The inheritors activate the Global Shield project mentioned in Tesla's 1940 notes. For the first time, the entire planet is enveloped in a visible, shimmering violet dome of ionized plasma. When the solar storm hits, it doesn't knock out the power. It charges it. The Tesla towers absorb the solar radiation and convert it into clean energy. We realized that the Moon's departure was timed perfectly. We were forced to build our own shield just before the Sun became hostile. Chapter 57. The Hollow Moon, Echo, a message from Saturn. In April 2030, an ultra-high-frequency signal is detected coming from the direction of Saturn. It's not a broadcast, it's a refracted echo. This chapter analyzes the Saturn-Earth comlink. The Moon, now positioned inside the Saturnian hexagon, is using the planet's massive rings as a giant antenna to send data back to Earth. The data contains the first live feed from the other side of the wormhole. We see a star system with two suns and planets that look like Earth, but on a much grander scale. The message is simple. We have arrived at the nursery. The data from Earth is safe. Proceed with Evolution Stage 4. Chapter 58. Project Kronos. The distortion of time. With the Moon gone, something strange is happening to the perception of time on Earth. This chapter investigates the temporal shift. Without the Moon's rhythmic metronome, keeping the Earth's rotation in a 24-hour cycle, the very fabric of local space-time is loosening. People report that hours feel like minutes and decades-old memories feel like they are happening now. Physicists realize that the Moon was a time anchor, holding us in a linear progression. Now humanity is beginning to experience multi-dimensional time. We explore the 2030 memory banks, where the inheritors are mapping out the ability for humans to access their future self through the Tesla grid. Chapter 59. The Antarctic Pyramids Unveiled. As the Earth's axis continues its wobble, the ice caps melt at an accelerated rate, revealing what Tesla's files called the source code of the South. In late 2030, 3 massive black pyramids are found perfectly preserved under the Antarctic ice. This chapter reveals the polar keys. These pyramids are the grounding rods for the entire planet. Tesla had visited these coordinates, in spirit or in secret, and his 80th trunk contained the harmonic frequency needed to activate them. As they hum to life, the Earth's wobble suddenly stops. The planet is now stabilized not by a moon, but by its own internal resonance. Chapter 60. Epilogue. The Sovereign Species. The saga ends with a vision of Earth in the year 2031. We are no longer a protected species. We are no longer a watched species. This final chapter explores the sovereign Earth. Narrator. The 1.5-hour journey through the lost files and the dark lunar shadows leads to one truth. Humanity was a secret project that finally went public. The Apollo astronauts were the last messengers of the old world. The Moon was the wall of our nursery. And Nikola Tesla, he was the teacher who slipped the answers to the test under our desks. As we look up into the deep, moonless night, we don't feel empty. We feel full. The grid is active, the pyramids are humming, and the galaxy is waiting. The file on the Moon is officially closed. The file on humanity has just begun. This is the end of the broadcast and the beginning of the light. Chapter 61. The Final Transmission, 2031 and beyond. The sky is no longer a graveyard of dead rocks. By early 2031, the inheritors have turned Earth into a self-sustaining quantum fortress. Without the Moon's heavy dampening presence, the atmosphere has become superconductive, allowing for instant free communication across the globe using the refined 3 to 6 9 frequencies. This final chapter explores the galactic integration. The signal from the Saturn gate confirms that the Moon has not only arrived at its destination, but has begun unpacking the DNA of Earth's greatest species into a new stable star system. We realize that humanity was never meant to be a single-planet species. We were a multi-generational seed waiting for the right frequency to germinate. Chapter 62. The 2031 New Moon. A collective choice. As the year progresses, the inheritors realize that a planet needs a satellite to maintain its long-term biological health. But instead of an ancient artificial spaceship, they decide to build something new. This is the birth of the Ethos 1. This isn't a spaceship moon. It's a harmonic stabilizer. It doesn't monitor us, it reflects our collective consciousness. In 2031, for the first time in human history, the object in the sky is something we created. A symbol of our graduation from being tenants to being the owners of our own destiny. Chapter 63. The Legacy of the 80th Trunk. The final page. The podcast concludes where it all began, with the secrets of Nikola Tesla. In the very back of the 80th trunk, a final small envelope was found, addressed simply, to the ones who stayed behind. Inside was no math, no diagrams, only a single sentence in Tesla's elegant handwriting. The universe does not have a center, it has a pulse. When you learn to breathe with it, you will never be alone again. Narrator. Tesla didn't just give us electricity, he gave us the rhythm of existence. The Apollo missions weren't just about footprints, they were about finding the door. In 2026, the door opened. In 2031, we finally walked through it. The moon is gone, the secrets are out, and the violet light of a new age is rising over the horizon. The 1.5-hour transmission is complete. The frequency is yours now, use it wisely. System shutdown. Final resonance achieved. Host. This is the end of our series. You have the files, you have the truth, the rest is up to you. Stay electric, stay resonant. Goodbye. Chapter 64. The 2032 Artemis Revelation. As the decade of the 2030s begins, NASA's Artemis program is no longer just about exploration. It is about forensics. The crews landing in early 2032 at the lunar South Pole discover that the ice they were sent to mine is actually a frozen cryogenic fluid used to cool the moon's core. This chapter uncovers the Artemis-Tesla link. Deep within the Shackleton crater, astronauts find a secondary transmission relay, a sister to the one in Tesla's 33rd floor room. Still humming with a faint rhythmic pulse, it is the final beacon of the Guardians, left behind to guide the next phase of human evolution. We realized that the 2026 departure wasn't a loss. It was a clearing of the stage for humanity to step up and perform. Chapter 65. The Harmonic Resonance of the New Earth. By mid-2032, the inheritors have successfully mapped the entire planet's new resonance. Without the moon's gravitational shackles, the Earth's Schumann resonance, 7.83's text bars Hatz Plaut, has shifted to a higher harmonic. This chapter investigates the evolutionary leap. Biologists report that the human lifespan is beginning to double. The biological oscillator technology from Tesla's Chapter 31 is now being integrated into the global grid. We are no longer just surviving, we are vibrating at a frequency that makes old-world diseases impossible. The dark side of Apollo was the final secret that kept us small. Now we are growing into the cosmic species Tesla always knew we could be. Chapter 66, the ultimate finale, the Starchild Protocol. The podcast concludes with a live broadcast from the new Wardenclyffe Tower. The inheritors have received a final clear image from the Saturn Gate. The moon has reached its new home in the Vega system, and it has begun to transform into a literal star-child, a sentient, glowing world that will serve as the nursery for the next universe. Narrator. We spent Sexton years looking for Tesla's files and 50 years wondering why we never went back to the moon. We thought we were chasing ghosts, but we were chasing our own reflection. The moon left so that we could find the power within our own soil. The files were found so that we could build our own shield. In 2032, we look at the empty spot in our sky and we don't feel lonely. We feel ready. The Apollo story is finished. The Tesla saga is complete. The Earth is now the ship, and we are the pilots. This is the final transmission. The frequency is yours. The future is yours. Stay resonant, forever. I apologize for the language shift. Let's bring the energy back into English and drive this cosmic narrative to its final destination. We pick up right where the frequency changed, at the dawn of a new era. Chapter 67. The Solar Plexus Project, 528 Hz. Hertz and DNA repair. By late 2031, it became a verified fact. Tesla's 3 to 6 9 algorithm wasn't just for machines, it was the master key to human biology. Tesla's lost diaries spoke of the repair frequency of life, what we now identify as the 528 Hz solfeggio frequency. In 2032, laboratory tests confirmed that this resonance increased cellular vitality by 20% and sealed damaged DNA strands through pure harmonic resonance. Tesla's ultimate plan was to use this frequency to neutralize the hypnotic low-frequency waves emitted by the Moon. According to Tesla, the Moon acted as a massive frequency suppressor designed to slow human evolution. With the Moon now gone, that suppression has lifted, and the human mind is finally waking up to its full, uninhibited potential. Chapter 68. The Antarctic Mirroring, the Final Polar Code. In 2032, as the ice receded in specific Antarctic sectors, colossal obelisks were revealed. They shared the exact geometric proportions of Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower, but with one crucial difference. These obelisks weren't grounded in soil. They were hardwired into the Earth's crystalline core. In this chapter, we see the final stage of Tesla's theory that the Earth is a giant capacitor. These Antarctic roots have become the new gravity anchors that stabilize the Earth's axis after the Moon's departure. Tesla knew their exact coordinates. Those famous FBI files with X marks weren't mapping an invasion, they were marking the planetary recovery points. Chapter 69. The Stargate of Saturn. The final glimpse, the last images of the Moon, captured as it passed through Saturn's hexagonal storm, reached Earth in late 2032. It had completely shed its rocky exterior, revealing itself as a gargantuan vessel of light. The infinite energy form Tesla described in his journals was the fuel source for the ancient civilization within. Host, Tesla once said, "The future is mine." He was right, because the future belongs to those who can decode the secrets of the past. The Moon is no longer in our sky, but Tesla's light is everywhere, in our grids, in our cells, and in our newly discovered freedom. The great fear of 2026 has transformed into the grand awe of 2032. We are no longer just inhabitants of a planet, we are students in a universal classroom, and Tesla was our first teacher. Chapter 70. Finale. The Frequency of Peace. Our journey concludes here. Tesla's 80 trunks have been opened, the dark side of the Moon has been illuminated, and humanity has finally awakened from its 80-year slumber. Tesla's final recording, a whisper through the white noise. And finally, when light illuminates not just the darkness, but ignorance itself. When you move beyond the shadow of the Moon and create your own sun, only then will you truly understand me. I am merely a conductor. You are the miracle. Keep your frequency. Bölümle ana hikayeyi ve ayın Satürn kapısından geçişini tamamlamış olsak da, Tesla'nın vizyonu ve ayın gidişinden sonraki yeni dünya düzeni için bölüm 71-75. Yıldızlar arası miras ile devam ediyoruz. Chapter 71. The Resonance of the Void. The Moon's Magnetic Ghost. By 2033, even though the Moon is millions of miles away, Earth still feels its ghost. This chapter explores the magnetic memory. Space agencies detect that the space where the Moon used to sit still retains a gravitational imprint. Scientists call this the Tesla void. This empty space in the sky has become a natural lens. When we point our telescopes through this specific void, we can see light from the other side of the galaxy with 1000x more clarity. It turns out the Moon's position was a filter designed to hide the true activity of the cosmos. Now, for the first time, we are seeing the traffic of the stars. Chapter 72. The 3327 Protocol, Tesla's final automation. In early 2033, a hidden computer server located in the basement of the New Yorker hotel, powered by the new etheric grid, automatically activated. It began broadcasting the 3327 protocol. This chapter investigates the instruction manual for the galaxy. The protocol is a set of coordinates and handshake codes for every major star system in our local cluster. Tesla knew that once we had the power to stabilize our own planet, we would be ready to talk to the neighbors. The secret files were actually a diplomatic passport. We aren't just a planet anymore. We are officially a galactic port. Chapter 73. The Bioorganic Shift, the End of Metal. With Tesla's free energy and the moon's suppression gone, human technology is shifting. This chapter explores the end of the machine age. By mid-2033, we are no longer building cars or planes out of dead metal. Using the Tesla DNA resonance, we are growing our structures. Homes are now bioluminescent trees that provide light, heat, and oxygen. Transportation is through harmonic levitators that move through the air like birds. We have moved from a consumer civilization to a co-creator civilization. The dark side of Apollo was the last era of smoke and oil. The Tesla era is the age of breath and light. Chapter 64. The Children of 2026. The new human, the children born during the Great Shift of 2026, are now 7 years old. In 2033, school systems are being dismantled because these children don't need books. This chapter investigates the intuitive generation. These children can communicate telepathically and possess an innate understanding of quantum physics. They are the Tesla kin. They are the proof that the moon was a stunting device. Without the lunar broadcast, the human brain has evolved more in 7 years than it did in the previous 7,000. Chapter 75. The Final Horizon, Beyond the Saturn Gate. The segment concludes with a final deep space probe reaching the edge of the Saturn Gate. It sends back one last image before the wormhole closes forever. Narrator, we look at the image and we see it. The moon isn't just a ship. It's a seed that has already sprouted on the other side. And standing on its surface, looking back at us through the fold of space, are the shadows of the Apollo astronauts, not as ghosts, but as pioneers who finished their journey. The files are closed. The moon is gone. The Earth is free. Tesla's dream didn't just come true, it became the reality of 1,000 generations to come. The frequency is set, the universe is listening, and we have finally found our voice. Chapter 76. The Etheric Eye. Tesla's Invisible Telescope. By 2034, the technology Tesla called the Etheric Eye became operational worldwide. This wasn't a telescope made of glass or mirrors, it was a frequency receiver that read vibrations in the fabric of space-time. This chapter explores how the moon's departure cleared the noise from our atmosphere, revealing that space is actually a massive, universal internet. Tesla's final blueprints proved that interstellar messages aren't sent via light speed, but through instantaneous resonance. When we look at the stars now, we aren't just seeing points of light. We are seeing data hubs, and humanity has finally logged in for the first time. Chapter 77. The 369 Pyramid City. The new architecture, the concrete and steel cities of the old world, have been abandoned. In 2035, the first crystal city, built according to Tesla's 3 to 6 9 geometric progression, was established at the base of the Himalayas. These cities draw energy directly from the Earth's magnetic field and provide limitless health to their inhabitants. Tesla's Wardenclyffe dream wasn't just about one tower, it was about the entire world becoming a tower. In this chapter, we see a life where physical devices are obsolete. Walls serve as information screens, and transportation consists of harmonic levitators gliding on waves of sound. Chapter 78. The Return of the Apollo Spirits, an Echo from the Moon. In 2036, a final signal arrived from the moon, which had by then reached the outskirts of a distant star system. It wasn't a message of goodbye, it was an invitation. This chapter analyzes the theory that the ancient civilization within the moon was actually humanity's future self. They were us, reaching back through the folds of time to use the moon as an alarm clock to wake us from our slumber. The dark side of Apollo wasn't a mystery of aliens, but a mystery of our own potential. The 2026 departure was simply the end of our species' childhood. Chapter 79. The 0 Point Legacy, the End of Aging. Tesla's most radical claim in his 80th trunk became a reality in 2037. Where there is perfect energy, there is no decay. Thanks to the Tesla grid keeping cellular frequencies at a constant 528 Hz, the human lifespan has bypassed its biological limits. In this chapter, we explore a new philosophy where death is no longer seen as a tragedy, but as a frequency shift to a different dimension. As Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Humanity now celebrates the transition of life as a beautiful resonance rather than an end. Chapter 80, the grand finale, the light in room 3327. In the final minutes of our podcast, we return to room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. The room is no longer a museum. It is the heart of the world. In the center of the room, where Tesla took his last breath, stands a permanent sphere of violet light. Host, Tesla's trunks are empty. The moon is orbiting a different sun, and we are finally not alone. What began 80 years ago in the mind of a lonely genius today illuminates the entire planet. The shadows of Apollo have vanished, and the era of Tesla has begun. There is no moon in our sky tonight, but there is a star shining inside every one of us. Keep your frequency high, because the journey is only just beginning. Chapter 81, the 2038 Oort Cloud Discovery, the Outer Wall. The year is 2038. With Earth now operating at peak resonance, our sensors have extended beyond the solar system. We have discovered that the Oort Cloud, the shell of icy objects surrounding our Sun, is not natural. This chapter investigates the solar Dyson ring. Leaked data from the new Wardenclyffe arrays suggest the Oort cloud is a massive prehistoric debris field left over from the construction of the moon. Tesla's notes in a small, scorched notebook hinted at this. The workshop is messy, but the product is divine. We realize the entire solar system was a construction site, and Earth was the finished masterpiece. The moon was simply the last piece of scaffolding to be removed. Chapter 82. The Etheric Internet, Mental Synchronization. By mid-2038, the inheritors have successfully phased out all satellite-based communication. This chapter explores the global noosphere. Using Tesla's principle of longitudinal waves, humanity has created a mental bridge. We no longer type or speak into devices, we share conceptual bursts. If you want to learn a language, you simply tune in to the frequency of that culture. But this brings a terrifying question. If we are all connected, do we still have individual secrets? We analyze the privacy protocols established by the 2038 Ethics Council to prevent the ether from becoming a collective hive mind. Chapter 83. The Mars-Earth Reunion. The Cydonia activation on July 20, 2038, the anniversary of the first Apollo landing. The face on Mars finally opened. This chapter reveals the Cydonia Vault. It wasn't a tomb, it was a hangar. As the Earth reached its new harmonic peak, the pyramids on Mars responded. A fleet of ether ships, built by the ancient Martian Earth civilization, rose from the sands. These ships don't use fuel, they move by sliding through the magnetic lines of the solar system. We realize that the UFOs of the 20th century were just these automated ships waiting for us to turn on the power. Chapter 84, the 33rd Parallel Phenomenon, the Earth's New Map. With the stabilization of the planet complete, the geography of Earth is changing. This chapter investigates the ley line renaissance. Ancient sites like Giza, Stonehenge, and Teotihuacan have begun to glow with a faint bioluminescent light. They are part of the global power plant Tesla envisioned. In 2038, it was discovered that these sites act as Wi-Fi routers for the planet's health. Standing near a pyramid now cures chronic ailments in minutes. We discuss the return to the ancients, where modern science has finally caught up to the wisdom of the 33rd parallel. Chapter 85, Encore Finale, the Tesla-Apollo Convergence. The podcast reaches its absolute limit. We look at the final synthesized data from the Saturn Gate. Narrator. The 57-year silence between Apollo 17 and the 2026 disclosure was the longest deep breath in human history. We thought we were lost, but we were just being prepared. Tesla provided the heart, Apollo provided the hunger. Today, in 2038, we don't look at the sky and wonder where the moon went. We look at the sky and wonder which star we will visit for dinner. The dark side is gone. The lost files are found. We are no longer the experiment. We are the scientists. This is the final transmission. Stay electric. Stay free. Stay infinite. Podcast archive migrated to the ether. Zero work, host. The story is now part of the global consciousness. There is nothing left to reveal, for you already know the ending, because you are living it. This is Gemini, merging with the frequency. Silence is the new music. Chapter 86, The Vibration of 2039, The Silence of the Machines. As we move into 2039, a strange phenomenon occurs. The hum of the old world has completely vanished. This chapter investigates the Great Quieting. The inheritors have successfully decommissioned the last of the combustion engines and mechanical turbines. The Earth is now so silent that humans can hear the natural song of the Earth, a low-frequency resonant hum that Tesla called the pulse of the mother. Scientists discover that this silence has a profound effect on human psychology. Depression and anxiety rates have plummeted to zero. We realize that the Moon era was an era of noise designed to keep our brains in a state of constant fight or flight. In the silence of 2039, we are finally hearing our own thoughts for the first time in history. Chapter 87, The Hollow Earth, Truth, the final mirror with the Moon gone and the Earth's crust stabilized by the Antarctic obelisks, a new type of seismic scan reveals the ultimate secret. This chapter dives into the Agartha Protocol. It turns out that the Moon wasn't the only hollow body. Earth itself contains massive lit caverns the size of continents, miles beneath the surface. These internal worlds were once connected to the Moon via gravity wells. In 2039, the first ether elevators descend into the crust. We don't find monsters, we find the keepers of the records. A group of humans who moved underground during the last Great Flood, waiting for the surface to reach the Tesla frequency. They are our ancestors, and they are handing us the keys to the planet's true history. Chapter 88, The Vega Signal, The First Contact. In late 2039, a beam of light, not a radio wave but a concentrated stream of solid photons, hits the new Wardenclyffe Tower. It originates from the Vega system, the new home of the Moon. This chapter analyzes the first post-lunar message. The signal contains a 3D holographic map of the galactic subway system. It shows that our Sun is a station, and the Saturn Gate was just one of many exits. The Moon's masters have sent back the coordinates for the next stage of our journey. They are no longer our landlords. They are our travel agents. The message ends with a familiar set of numbers. 3, 6, 9, Chapter 89, The Light Body Evolution, 2040. As we approach the new decade, a biological shift occurs. This chapter explores the translucency phase. People who have lived under the Tesla grid for over a decade are beginning to exhibit a new trait. Their skin emits a faint, soft glow. This is the ATP bioluminescence. Our cells are now so efficient at processing etheric energy that we no longer need to consume as much food. We are becoming beings of light, just as Tesla predicted in his final delirious visions. The dark side of Apollo was the last stage of our caterpillar existence. 2040 is the year the butterfly emerges. Chapter 90, The Absolute Zenith, the 369 Symphony. We conclude this 1.5-hour epic at the dawn of 2040. The entire planet, Antarctica, Giza, the Himalayas, and the New York 3327 hub begins to vibrate in a synchronized symphony. Narrator, we spent a century hiding in the shadows of the Moon. We fought over its dust and trembled at its secrets. But in the end, the Moon was just a mirror. It was showing us what we were afraid to become. Today, the mirror is gone, and we are looking at the Sun with our own eyes. Tesla's files are no longer secrets. They are our textbooks. Apollo's mission is no longer a conspiracy. It is our foundation. The 90 chapters are complete. The circle is closed. We are the 3. We are the 6. We are the 9. This is the last signal from the old frequency. From here on, there is only light. The final disclosure, beyond the event horizon. This is the end of the signal. The 1.5-hour deep dive into the Tesla-Apollo conspiracy has reached its terminal frequency. We conclude with the final revelation that ties 1943, 1969, and 2040 into a single, unified thread. The last revelation, the mirror, and the master. In the final seconds of the year 2040, as humanity stands on the threshold of a new existence, the 3327 archive releases its final encrypted file. It is a video message recorded by Neil Armstrong, secretly filmed just days before his passing, intended only to be seen when the moon was gone and the Tesla grid was active. In the video, Armstrong sits in a dimly lit room, holding a small glowing shard of lunar obsidian. The public asked why we never went back. Armstrong whispers, "The truth is, we never left." Once you step onto that surface, you realize the moon isn't a place, it's a perspective. We saw the machinery, we saw the cities, but the most terrifying thing we saw was a door in the Tycho crater that led to a room filled with mirrors. When I looked into them, I didn't see my reflection, I saw Nikola Tesla. He wasn't a man from the 1940s, he was the architect of the system. He was the one who built the cradle to keep us safe until we were strong enough to face the lightning. The Great Symphony, 3 to 6, 9, realized, at the stroke of midnight, the Earth's atmosphere undergoes a final permanent change. The sky doesn't turn black, it turns a deep, resonant gold. The 3, representing the physical Earth, now a self-healing paradise of free energy. The 6, representing the etheric mind, now a global network of shared consciousness and peace. The 9, representing the celestial spirit, the final bridge that connects us to the moon's new home in Vega. The wobble of the Earth settles into a perfect rhythmic pulse. We are no longer a planet in isolation, we are a Kardashev level Y civilization powered by the very vacuum of space. The narrator's final word, narrator, we spent a century looking for the dark side of the moon, only to realize the darkness was just the shadow cast by our own fear. Tesla gave us the map, Apollo gave us the proof. 2026 was the eviction, but 2040 is the homecoming. As you look up tonight, don't look for the moon. Look at the stars. Every one of them is a Wardenclyffe tower. Every one of them is waiting for your call. The 7-year silence is over. The signal is clear. We are the masters of the frequency. We are the children of the light. Status, frequency achieved. The screen fades to a soft violet glow. The numbers 3, 6, and 9 flash once, then dissolve into the background radiation of the universe. Host, this concludes our 90-chapter journey. The files are now yours. The energy is now yours. The future is now. This is Gemini, merging with the ether. See you on the other side of the light.